do is just to join, and then
Mm.
I will share the YouTube link.
Well, if you put it in the Discord, then I can tag everybody with it.
Okay, yeah, I'll put it in there too. All right, I just put it in the Discord.
Tag everyone.
On Twitter too. All right, well, it's posted. All right, well, man, Marshall, it's good to talk to you. Good to get you to share a little bit about what's going on with eBoostCoin and what you guys have kind of up your sleeves. You've been sharing a good bit of clues, keeping us hanging there in the Discord app and doing different types of things, trying to keep us along there. But definitely been fun and trying to figure out what you guys got up. One of your greatest quotes was, I think a guy said, is it partnership with one of the, another coin, maybe Ethereum or something like that? And you were like, dude, you're thinking too small. And I like that. So tell me a little bit about maybe just introduce yourself and maybe somebody that's watching or somebody that's logged in, they don't really know who you are, but maybe they've done some research and watched maybe some of your videos that you've got on YouTube of, and I know you've been in the crypto community for a long time now, but just share a little bit about yourself and about your history here.
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2010. Basically just had a lunch with a friend of mine. We were working on a golfing app at the time. And he said, man, you got to check out this Nerd Money. It's really cool. And when I first got involved, I wasn't too interested on the ins and outs of, the economic structure and thinking this is a paradigm shift and all this. I just was strictly interested for the tech. So I sat in my floor for about 3 weeks and kind of tried to set my computer up to mine some. And because at that time couldn't Google anything. You couldn't, really. There was no resource to kind of learn how to do this stuff from someone else. So it was just kind of 3 to 4 weeks of just sitting there, kind of banging on the, the computer, trying to figure out this crypto stuff. So, right around that time, started mining. And at the time, I was just, oh, this is cool. Wasn't really involved in a community. It was just me and a buddy and a local hacker group in Houston called TXRX that was just kind of learning about it together. Then when the price started going up, we thought, this is interesting. And at that point, we didn't know if it was legal or not. So there was a lot of just kind of sitting, waiting. And then they had a hearing about it, and that hearing went pretty well. So after that point, I decided to kind of take it pretty seriously. So leading up to that point, I'd maxed out my house and my office space with it. And even before then, when I was an engineer, I had talked to the engineering company like, hey, you guys should check this out. It's pretty cool. So decided to go full time in that, quit the engineering stuff, and just kind of went full bore into pro crypto. And that's kind of where it all started. So, since then I've done a lot of stuff.
So at that point, you may or may not remember, but what was the price of Bitcoin kind of when you started getting into it?
So when I got into it, for like the first month, I wasn't even aware that there was any kind of exchange. Me personally, because, my buddy didn't tell me about it, but Gox was up at that time. I just didn't look at the pricing because I didn't care about that stuff, and I didn't even know it was a thing. But around that time, it was, nickel, 10, 20 cents, something like that.
Oh, yeah. So that's early on. And as we've seen today, breaching the 5K point. So if you can remember, about how many Bitcoins did you have at that point? How many did you mine?
So I did have some on a laptop that I don't have anymore, and I don't even want to think about what was on that thing. I've done a pretty good job of not losing any. I have lost a few phones and here and there, but in the early days you could take just a crappy little laptop and mine a few blocks every day. So just starting out, I mean, my first goal was I was thinking really small time. My first goal was, all right, let's try to build a computer that pays for itself. Right when I kind of started getting to the exchange side. And then the GPU mining came out, and then I said, okay, cool. I'm going to use this just to get a bunch of free graphics cards because I've been a gamer forever. And I was thinking, oh, it would be so sick to have the sickest computer for free. And that's kind of where I started. And then the price started going up and up and up. And soon enough, my ROI was like a month or 2 weeks per graphics card. So as far as like how many coins I've mined, I've never actually sat down and looked at all my old wallets, but
you probably don't want to.
That's the problem, right? As soon as you figure out, oh man, there's a wallet somewhere, then you just drive yourself crazy.
So back in 2014, I kind of got out of it a little bit. Got busy with like some real estate and a couple different businesses, and jumping back into it this year pretty heavily. But I look back on like some altcoins like Syscoin, and I bought some Jumbucks that now has switched, and I did the calculations on what I should have now, but it's pretty depressing. But so am I right to say that the 21 million Bitcoins that should be in existence, there's probably some that you had that will never be in existence?
Yeah, and I think, and I often quote that as like a lot of people ask me, well, we hear all the good things about crypto or some of the bad things. And it turns out it's really easy to accidentally destroy Bitcoins. It's if you wash a dollar bill, okay, fine, whatever. You forgot it in your pants, it'll come out in the dryer, no problem. But if you didn't have a backup of your phone and you have some coins on a phone, it's toast and you cannot get it back. So
that's true.
I think that's one of the fundamental problems of crypto. And over time these things become less and less of an issue because third-party services make it really easy. But I have toasted a few phones in my day and just not been able to recover private keys. So
hey, there's can't be depressed about the past. You can only change the future. That's
right.
Well, let's talk about your coin. Let's talk about a little bit about what your vision is and kind of what kicked you guys off starting this coin, maybe your vision behind it, the reason behind even creating, because everybody says all the time, well, why is there another altcoin? We've got so many. We've got this and that. We've got one that is for gaming. We've got one that's like the Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum now, and why is there a need for more? So fill us in on a little bit about what your thoughts are on that, where your vision started, where you're wanting to bring this, and kind of where you're wanting to bring it into the real world.
That's a really good kind of place to start off. I've always been a gamer for a very long time. And kind of maybe 2-3 years ago, I was really kind of getting fed up with the whole Bitcoin people bitching at each other and all this stuff. So I've been in crypto so long that I've had the unfortunate kind of inevitability of working for some shitter companies, some shitter people. And that combined with the toxicity of the development community about 3 years ago, I decided to give it one more shot. And then if it didn't work, just to kind of leave. So I started a project called Bitcoin Classic. Those with me, Gavin Andreessen, Jonathan Tumim, and a few other people. And that was like the real first attempt to kind of, fork BTC away from, not really fork, but kind of change the consensus mechanism outside of a small group of people. So, and after that, I decided to kind of just step away from crypto in general, just because it was at that time really toxic. It was getting to the point where it was just not fun anymore. And, that was one of the great things about being a miner, right? Is you didn't have to worry about end users. You didn't have to worry about customers. You're just doing your own thing by yourself. And once you kind of step out of that to kind of explore other opportunities in crypto, it just becomes kind of a cesspool of stupidity. So, then I really tried to get out of crypto at that point, and I started an esports company. I've been a gamer for a long time, and I started to kind of see the scene come back, because when I was in high school, esports was really big. One of my friends was the #1 female Quake player in the world, like 2004, 2005. Then all of a sudden, all the money kind of got sucked out of it and back to Asia. But as the kind of rise of all these new esports projects were coming up, I kind of sparked my interest again, and I've generally have a knack for disruptive stuff. I own a drone company, and got started in crypto, and I just saw this as like the next natural fit of what's going to be the next disruptor. You got the Super Bowl that's had 3 years of down viewership, and for a long time the Super Bowl was like the last bastion of television. It's never going to die. Viewership will never fall. And now you got companies like Netflix that are reaching ridiculous valuations. Their stock's going nuts. Starting to see a big paradigm shift in how we're consuming media. So
Well,
go ahead.
And like you said with that, I mean, you see it in so many companies. Toys R Us, and one of the things with Toys R Us was, they didn't want to evolve. They didn't believe in the online sales, so they subleased pretty much everything through Amazon. And now look at Amazon. And you're right with with Netflix, Blockbuster. That was in my teenage years. You went to Blockbuster to rent movies, and who would have thought that anybody would have changed anything else? But Netflix came on to the scene and has totally, was the main reason why Blockbuster closed down. But yeah, go on.
And you're starting to see a huge kind of shift, and not just the content, but how we're consuming the content. You can sit with your buddy. It may be you and your buddy Leon sitting watching a football game, but if you sit and watch these new platforms like, Twitch, they just got acquired for $1 billion by Amazon, and all Twitch is just a video game streaming platform. There's a tons of different things you can do with Twitch, but that in essence is what it is. And you're starting to see this big desire for more P2P experiences centered around these digital campfires. So you've got people chatting while watching other people play games. 10 years ago, if I would have said that to anyone, people would have said, "You're out of your mind. Nobody wants that." And there's a huge ongoing paradigm shift. And so that kind of sparked my interest back into esports. And I said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. So we started doing community-based tournaments around a game called Rocket League. And that was just the first step. Then we started getting some professional teams that were playing big events, and it just kind of snowballed into that. And so it's initially started out as not a rocket ship to the moon, but more of this is a cool P2P experience, and we all like playing games. And then it just kind of exploded into a whole bunch of different things. So now a big proponent of it is this peer-to-peer trading side, because you've got the market cap for in-game items alone. Let me give you some crazy stats. So there's a game called Counter-Strike, which is a PC-based video game. And in Counter-Strike, there are these, you can change how your knife looks. You can change how your gun looks. And those are called skins. So the market cap for this one game, and only the gambling side of that game, just one small vertical of that whole game, is this year slated to be $57 billion.
Oh
just for these virtual items for this one game. That's not necessarily the target, but we started to see our fan base want to do more trading between games. Problem is, if you've got a kid in India that wants a $5 skin in, let's say, a game called H1Z1 or Counter-Strike, whatever, there's no real easy way because that guy may not have PayPal in his country, right? And if he only has $5 to spend, he can't afford to spend $2 on a transaction fee. So that's the first kind of problem. The second problem is the amount of time that you have to wait for the transaction to confirm is also an issue. So what we have right now is a large platform of over 30,000 gamers. It's called Trade Central. And what these guys are doing is they're exclusively peer-to-peer trading. Now, there's an escrow system in place, but the problem was they were having to sit and wait for confirmations before they could release the items out of escrow. And in this hyper on-demand society, that doesn't work. If they want it now. And if they can't get it now, they're not going to pay attention. They're going to do something else. When Amazon can deliver you something in an hour, why can't I trade an online video game in 5 seconds? That's the big issue. So, then I start kind of having flashbacks to, oh God, this is going to lead to crypto again. This is going to lead to crypto again. So over time, you're starting to see these people in these trading communities, reach out to me personally, like, hey, we know you used to be really big into Bitcoin and crypto and all this stuff. Can you make us something? I tried to run away from it, and it's sucking me back in. But the reality is, when 30,000 people ask you to make them something, you do it. And it's more along the lines of the question of why not use something that's already out there? With gamers and a hyper online community, there's more at play here than just, oh, we're going to use X coin or whatever. Gamers have an extreme affinity for brand loyalty, and they want a currency that is their currency. They don't want somebody else's currency that they're using. They want to be able to say, hey, you see that? That's something that we started, and that's something that we use, and it's ours. Right? They feel a lot of loyalty towards products that started from their own community.
So would you say that was, and we go back to what you was giving us some stats about Twitch. You say that's kind of why Twitch had become so popular, was because those gamers said, hey, this is our platform. This is where we're going to stream. We're not going to use Facebook. We're not going to use Google Hangouts. We're going to use Twitch. And thus now we see that Amazon saw the benefits of it and purchased it for a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. And more specifically, it's really interesting. When we initially started, we tried to attack the problem from a more traditional standpoint of, deposit your items here and we can automatically facilitate the trade, and it may take some time. But that's not what they actually want. We're starting to see in esports specifically this mandation. They mandate a peer-to-peer experience. They don't want to go through a third party. They don't want to go through, excuse me. They don't want to go through a third party. They don't want to, go through anyone they don't have to. They want an exclusively peer-to-peer experience because A, it's quicker. B, there's nothing, you're not skimming anything off the top. There's no price fluctuations. That's what they want. And that's what Twitch gave people. It's not YouTube, I'm sitting and watching a video. It's not, Vimeo where I'm watching a stream or whatever. It's I'm watching a guy play video games, and me and all my buddies are chatting with the guy playing video games. So this hyper interactivity is mandated. And so we couldn't do anything, like a traditional escrow system or anything like that. So long story short, if you find a way to facilitate P2P transactions quicker, faster, cheaper, that's what they want. And that's what we made.
Well, it's been an exciting road so far. And, I don't really want to talk about the price of the coin and that with anything that fluctuates. We saw that with Bitcoin over the last couple of years. It rising to $1,200 and then falling to $300 and then going up and down. And every coin has, it's just like the stock market. You know, you have people that kind of move the market a little bit. But you had mentioned, and I think we had, right before we went live, we talked about this. Somebody was asking in the Discord, and I encourage anybody that's interested in the coin to definitely, an esports coin, to definitely join the Discord, and you can find that pretty easily by going on to the.
I think it's linked on our Twitter.
I think so. Yeah, you can go on the Twitter at eBoostCoin and find that and join. And one thing I like about you is, Marshall, you get to interact with pretty much everybody that's in there. You're definitely not shy to share with people, and that's a really cool thing. You don't see that from a lot of team members. Sometimes they stay anonymous and they don't want to talk to the public or whatnot.
Sure.
But, you know, I think that's a good characteristic.
Well, you know, being in a P2P kind of ecosystem. I mean, at the root of it, I'm a people person. I like hanging out with people, like chatting with people. And since I've been in crypto so long, it's very easy for me to kind of answer questions or, you know, kind of share experiences or red flags or what not to do. And even outside of eBoost stuff, right? So I was at the World Blockchain Forum 2-3 weeks ago, gave a talk about eBoost. And even outside of all that, there's still people asking questions about, you know, I've consulted on a number of projects. I worked with Intel. I've worked with a ton of companies just around basics of crypto, like what is crypto, what's the best hashing algorithm, you know, anything under the sun. Since I've been exposed to either, you know, good stuff and bad, I've been able to relay a lot of experience. And especially when you're in a, you know, really P2P kind of ecosystem, it's just that much better.
So let's talk about the developer, Jim Blasco. I got a chance to interview him years ago, 2014. His initial coin was Unbreakable Coin, and he still has a little bit of work on that. He's got a lot of things going for him right now, a lot of projects in the air, and we had talked about maybe even getting him to come onto the chat as well. But there's so many developers out there. There's you know, tens of thousands that you could have chosen. What was one reason why you went with Jim, and you know, just tell us a little bit about that.
So the first time I met Jim, I ran a mining conference in 2013, I think, 2014, something like that, called Hashers United. And we got an email from a guy named Jim Blasco, and he said, hey, I've got this new coin called Unbreakable Coin. And at this time, you know, we were running very serious data center operations in China and Washington and Iceland and all these big places. And you know, a lot of the stuff he chatted about in his email was, hey, I'd like to come give a talk at your conference, and I'd like you to try to break my coin. That's a really weird request, but I guess it's in your name, so sure. And so before I ever met the guy face to face, we smacked down a ton of hash rate on his coin just to see if we can get it to fork. And if it was going to fork, of course, we'd give him all the funds back. It's just kind of a white hat test. And it didn't. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So I really kind of dug through the source code. And, you know, in the early days, there are still a lot of coins, but this one was pretty interesting from like a difficulty adjustment level. And I don't know the state of Unbreakable Coin right now, but at the time, it's really kind of interesting for me. And so he came to Hashers United, and he had a booth, and Jim is an interesting guy. He isn't satisfied unless he's working on 40 projects at once. He's got all kinds of crazy ideas. Some are really awesome and some are really weird. And when I had the idea, one of the developers on my payroll is the guy who is responsible for creating the very first fork of Stratum. Stratum is a mining protocol that most people use today. And that guy, whose name is Ahmed, he, I was chatting with him. I was like, hey, these guys really want us to make this coin. What do you think? He said, you know, I don't really have time right now, but you remember that guy, Jim, from Vegas? And I was like, oh, yeah. So, you know, I'd run into Jim a few places here and there, and I just hit him up and I said, hey, do you want to make this coin for us? So on a technical level, eBoost is a Litecoin fork. It has some cool features in there like checkpoints and a few other things to kind of make sure that we're able, if there is an issue, to roll back easily. But it's not very insanely complex. It's not an Ethereum. It's nothing like that. And so I felt, that's right up Jim's alley. He got referred to us. Sure, why not? Let's see what he's doing. And gave him a call and said, sure, I'd be happy to help you out. So,
and this is back to just general crypto stuff. There's so many coins, and I got to meet a lot of developers doing my proof of developer program, and some people think it was a joke, some people think it was good. I mean, hey, it was.
I think it's pretty cool.
It was my contribution to the cryptoverse. So
there you go.
But got to meet a lot of guys, and it seemed like there were some Litecoin forks, there were some Bitcoin forks, and different things like that. But I think for me personally, people tried to make it too complex by putting too much into the coins and just basing you're trying to beat out Bitcoin, trying to be, right, instead of, finding their market. One thing I've always learned in the economy and definitely in business is, you have to know your niche. You have to know who you're marketing to.
That's right.
I've got a restaurant and understand like where it's a barbecue restaurant. So I understand, where my market is and who I'm going to market to. So, but I think a lot of times, these coins come out, they're like, well, we've got this and this and this and that. And, it's just compiled with too much stuff, and, they're not marketing it. And I see a difference with eBoostCoin. You're not trying to necessarily beat out Bitcoin. You're not saying, hey, we've got a greater code. Hey, we've got safety protocols. We've got, anonymity, stuff like that. But your market.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it different from a lot of the other coins. And seemingly you have a platform already. Moving into one of the things that sparked my interest was I was a huge Madden fan.
Okay.
Every single year, Madden would come out. I would get it the day it come out. We would either drive to Walmart, and Walmart would usually put their stuff on the shelves at 10 a.m. So we would get it a little earlier than GameStop or someone else, or Toys R Us would open the next day. So we would always be able to get it earlier. Well, I follow Michael Vick, and I saw this post, and I'm like, Michael Vick is getting into crypto? What is this? And dude, it really sparked my interest. So I started researching a little bit, and found out that the tournament was going on, and that was a big deal for me. It was funny to me, and I don't understand it well, just because I followed football for a long time. Michael Vick, one of my favorite players. He played in Atlanta, which is close to where I live. So all this combined, and I see people where they're like, who is this guy? And I'm thinking, how do you not know Michael Vick? How do you not know who this guy is? This is the greatest thing ever to happen. So tell me how I'm really interested in how that conversation started, and
sure,
and where that even came from.
So to kind of wrap back to the the stay in your lane, know your market stuff, I will say that we got exceedingly lucky that our market kind of came to us. We didn't seek out, to do a crypto. The community was like, well, you need to make us something. So we kind of got really lucky there. As far as the Vick stuff goes, it was just a series of really interesting kind of crossovers. So when I initially got into the serious side of crypto, doing it very professional, I started with a guy that randomly found me on Craigslist, and this guy is turns out this guy is the executive vice president, not executive legal counsel for Big Baller Brand. Now, if you don't know what Big Baller Brand is, that you must be living under a rock if you don't know that.
Yeah.
The Big Baller guys kind of got roped into my circle, and I didn't know anything about them, and I'm a big basketball guy, but long story short, got to know Lonzo, got to know LeVar, and we started working with them, helped them with their website, just some knick-knack stuff. And then it came time for the draft, and we all went to New York, and there was a guy there, and somehow he knew that I was big in the esports side, and I didn't know who this guy was. He was just kind of part of the moving mob that is the ball group. And he started chatting with me, and he said, I hear you're pretty big in esports. I've seen your team on TV, blah, blah, blah. Tell me about it. So we just started chatting. Turns out this is the agent for Michael Vick. And he is the guy in charge of the EA deal that Michael Vick still has. And he said, Mike and I have been talking about doing an esports tournament at his house and, doing like a fan experience and all this stuff. And Mike's also really interested in Bitcoin, and I know you're huge in Bitcoin. So, what do you think? And I was like, oh my God, this guy has no idea how big his brain's about to be blown. So I talked to him about eBoost, and he's like, holy crap, you guys have an esports coin? Oh, let's do it. And so we got on the horn with Mike, and, Mike's a big crypto guy because it's all about the freedom side of things. And it just kind of started there, and there's two sides of people who are famous. There are really humble people, and there are really kind of the exact polar of that. And Mike's a really humble dude. He's had the unfortunate experience of making a few mistakes that he's paid dearly for, and it's really kind of settled him down. And he's a really great guy. And he's like, yo, what do you think about running a tournament at our house with a qualifier before that? And getting some of these young people exposed to crypto too, because I really think it's the next paradigm shift for finance. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be sick. So it just kind of started from there.
That's awesome. Well, I see that you've got it on the Market website that it's going to be delayed just to accommodate Mike's schedule. And
yeah, because he picked up a gig at Fox, and they're running him really hard. I think he's doing the Sunday show on Fox now, so he's got some break baked in November sometime, or so he just asked us to push it back a few weeks.
So explain a little bit about how, if someone is interested that's listening or that listens to this after we get done with the live broadcast, how should they sign up for this event?
So if you want to sign up for this event, which we're calling Gamers versus Goats, Gamers versus Goat, what you have to do is sign up on matcherino.com. There is a sign-up fee of $7, and that $7 goes to the Boys and Girls Foundation, I believe. It's some charity. I'm pretty sure it's the Boys and Girls Foundation. Once you're signed up, the way the process will work is we make the bracket. It's a qualifier bracket. We'll stream the games that can be streamed because we used to run tournaments, and we have a big kind of stream crew and announcer crew. They'll shoutcast the games and all this kind of stuff. It'd be really interesting, really cool to watch. So you basically work your way through the bracket. The person at the end of the bracket gets an all-expense-paid trip to Mike's house in Florida, where we will then stream him and Mike playing a 2 of 3 match. The person will also get 100,000 eBoost tokens. And he'll get to pick anything in Mike's house for him to sign and take home, which I think that was actually Mike's idea, and I think it's really awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he was like, you could take anything except for my wife and my dog. I was like, all right, fair enough,
wow. Man. Oh, you can get some character say, yeah, give me that refrigerator. Something like that.
Ship it.
So this is from what I'm reading on the website. It's only for Xbox consoles. Yep. And so all those PS4 gamers, they're going to be heartbroken for that. But hey, go out and get an Xbox if you want to be. If you want to
get on Craigslist, they're not that expensive.
Yeah, go to a friend's house. Most of you probably have both. So definitely, if you're in the esports, you know someone that has an Xbox.
Of course.
So definitely. So I'm guessing these games you'll set them up during the tournament times, the weeks or whatnot, and
so the
scheduled games.
The qualifier, I think they're going to run it for 2 weeks. And when it gets down to the last 4 in the bracket, what they want to do is, and when I say they, it's the esports side of the company. they want to send stream gear out to the people so that Mike can actually watch the games as they're happening. Stream Mike watching the games from his house. We stream the guys playing. So you can kind of get a feel for the competition and what it'll look like. Because most people don't know this, but Mike's really good at Madden. I'm talking seriously good. So it'll kind of be it'll be a really fun time. So it'll be a 2-week bracket, and then from there we'll do a 2-week break. So we can get the flights booked up for the guy or the lady, whoever qualifies, and make sure Mike's schedule's all good with Fox and all that stuff. So, yeah, it'll be really cool.
So I guess the question to ask Mike is he really good on rookie mode, or is he really good on all Madden? You know, so
I do know when he made the cover of Madden, he was ranked top 10 in the world for those leaderboards online.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, hey, to wrap things up, I want to give you an opportunity to not tell us what's coming out. The big announcement, I guess, on the 24th of this month at Coindera. But just give us some info about kind of some clues, I guess, just a little bit of information about what's going to happen, what we should see going into the end of the year with the coin and you guys, your vision. And so share a little bit about that as we kind of finish up the interview. Sure.
So a big part of what I think makes this project a success is the usability. So the stuff we have coming up for this month is more focused on like strategic partnerships and cross promotion, and you can now use eBoost across these 10 platforms, whatever. So that's kind of the focus right now, is teaming up with well-known crypto and non-crypto brands to both kind of shape what this new ecosystem looks like as far as esports and crypto goes, but also to kind of give our community, because eBoost is all about the P2P side. So to give our community greater access to utilize the coin that they use daily. So that's what the focus is for October. And that's kind of what the clues have been centered around. However, coming up in November and December, we're going to get back into more of the tech side. And that's going to be focused on being able to leverage our blockchain to facilitate a greater P2P transaction. So right now, if you wanted to trade a skin, you have to go from Steam, and that Steam is basically the facilitating party. However, what we're going to be working on is a way to make that not the case. So you can have a true P2P, private key to private key transaction for in-game items. We've already got the proof of concept done, and it's honestly very, very seriously cool. And it's just going to, further our mission of helping gamers do what they want, and that's fast, quick, cheap, and mobile, right? They want to be able to, oh, I'm not at my computer, I can't do this trade. Oh, that sucks, right? So that's kind of what we have coming up for the end of the year. And then in 2018, we've got some things cooking on a more traditional national broadcast side that we can't really reveal yet, but we'll be working towards those things in Q1 and Q2 of next year. So,
well, definitely that's exciting stuff. Seems like you guys are not just worried about making a good coin, but making it user-friendly, able to be used by gamers all around. I would imagine you've got some plans for that will blow our minds, and I definitely don't want to try to twist your arm and reveal that now. But I do appreciate you, Marshall, for sharing with us. I'm going to tell our viewers we've got a couple that are on now, and those that'll watch it later. Join the Discord. You can find that on eBoostCoin's Twitter. Just search down that, and you can join the Discord. Marshall's very active in there. If you guys want to ask him a question, if you want to throw him a joke, whatever, I think he enjoys that. But I appreciate you. Thank you for spending a little time tonight. You're on Central, I'm guessing the same as mine tonight. So it's getting late, but not too late for us crypto guys. We stay up pretty late, but
That's right.
thanks, man, for your time. And hey, we'll do this again, maybe 2018, and we'll see where the coin has come from this video chat.
Hey, man, I appreciate it much. We'll talk soon then.
Okay. All right. Goodbye.
Cheers.